Hi everyone, I am Paridhi and I'm back with another video for you guys regarding the US DDS admissions. So today we have Dr. Anand Bhalodi with us, and he is a periodontist from India who had been practicing for 10 years before applying into the DDS cycle, and he's very recently graduated from USC and currently working as a dentist at a community health center in California. He will be sharing his journey with us, and the main focus for today's interview would be loans on B1, B2, and also how to get jobs in the United States without having to go via the H1B lottery route. So those two will be the main focus of our interview today. Thank you, Dr. Anand, for agreeing to talk with me today. And firstly, what was your motivation to move to the United States?
Hi, Paridhi. Thank you so much for providing me with this opportunity for this interview on social media. Just to let everybody know, me and Paridhi met on Facebook actually in one of the cafe groups where I usually used to share my opinions about candidates' questions and answers. I used to do a lot of those things. But then as I got busy, I really don't reply too much. And also there's a lot of difference of opinions as well. I like to keep my opinion sometimes to just myself and not bug others with my opinions. But with a period of time, I realized that my opinions have been a little bit on the truer side and lesser on the you know uh, dreamy side as well. Like people sometimes doesn't like much to hear the truth, and I am a such a person who likes to always speak the truth. So I thank Faridhi again for letting me know. And I feel there is a lot of information, the candidate posts are not very accurate. As either they are incomplete or the candidate sometimes fails to understand the reason for their success. They get so overwhelmed or they get so much self-conscious sort of way, like they think themselves as, they have achieved like a big thing. But there are some small things that goes into that profile that really kicks the engine for them and they start running with that. But they themselves don't know how they really got into it. So I have really done a lot of micro thinking on this admission process, and I usually share with those people who ask me about it, and I will just don't go about it like in the social media, like just bombarding people with just my opinion. So thank you, Paridi, once again. So yes, Pariji, very good question. Like, where you are asking me about, what motivated me to really, get into this. And, I was like, my life was really good, like, I was practicing as a periodontist for 10 years, have my office. My wife is also a dentist, very good practice in India. And what motivated me was I've seen many people, moving to US for a better future for their loved ones, even at the age of around 50, which always motivated me that if they can do it, why I cannot do it. US has always been the pinnacle amongst all the developed nations. And I had a talk with my sister who lives in US, and she asked me, hey, did you ever consider like coming to US? And I just told her, no, why will I? I'm settled here. I see no reason of me coming there and starting all over again. And during COVID times, she just told me that why don't you try and see it for yourself whether you will get into dental school or not. And I said that, okay, there's no harm in trying. It's like just, she told me like just try getting into the school and see how it goes for you. And I'm like, okay, I will try. And then I tried. She ignited a false hope in me that I can get in. And I tried for the exams. I cleared my exams. And I tried again for the CAPID. And I succeeded. And I finally got into dental school. So I think it was my sister and, people who really decide to come to US at an older age. And I've seen many of them, tons of them. I can give you a number of references who have come not just dental, like I've seen people coming even from like business group or like others who have migrated to other countries at a late age in their life. Everybody has a dilemma like whether you should do it or not, and I also had that same dilemma, and finally I could do it. So yeah, that was the reason I actually got motivated to come here.
So, Dr. Anand, a lot of international dentists worry about getting jobs in the United States and also the visa, the H1B visa, which they need to procure before doing any jobs in the United States. So, I believe you have gone via the H1B Cap-Exempt route. Can you tell us how to navigate through this route uh, and some information regarding this?
Yes, it is overwhelming. Currently, H1B is through lottery, and you need to be lucky to get a lottery, which I have never won a raffle ticket ever in my life, so I'm not a lucky person. Despite I have been in so many those raffle events and never got a raffle ever. But one usually gets two attempts to get lottery. But mostly, even if you are sick or not, uh, or sick up, you might still have a gap of 2 3 months where you might have to leave the country if you got selected in the second attempt. That depends on what time you graduate and the the, the leeway period that you have, which is like 60 days to 30 to 60 days. So what if you do not get selected in the lottery on three attempts? Then we can go through the H1B Cap-Exempt route, where you start working with a community clinic or a federal office or state government or something and get your work visa. And it doesn't go through the lottery. You can get it anytime around the year. So I choose that path. So I get clarity and I didn't participate in the lottery and also clarity and stability and can get my family over, which is still in India. And the rules are ever changing. And now they're saying that the H1B will be income driven or it depends on how much you are getting paid. And that will be even more better for dentists because dentists come in a higher paying category. So uh, it all depends on how things are unfolding. But yeah, this is another way if you don't get into the uh, H1B lottery. You have a CAP exam, and which usually the engineers and those who do master's program in computer science, they don't have the CAP exam categories. So they always rely on the lottery. So we are blessed that we have an opportunity to go through CAP exam as well.
Okay. And I've heard that there's some pay disparity between how DSOs and how community health centers work. So, is there any truth around that?
So I feel the disparities and inhibitions are in our mind. If you ask me, disparities is not in terms of what you make in a DSO or an FPSC or a community clinic, but it's in terms of your scope of practice. If you want to do like high-end dentistry and want to take risk in dental practice, to be honest, you can do whatever you want to do with a DDS degree that you get with the international dental program. Like I practiced of 10 years of implantology. Taking an implant is like it's not a big deal, to be very honest for me. Some people will say, "Oh, I want to do veneers. I want to do full arch reconstructions. I want to do full arch implants." Okay, like, but then those procedures makes you take high risk as well in terms of patient satisfaction, in terms of monetary benefits and everything. You are expected to actually do all these procedures if you want to do at a level of a specialist that is here in US. Yes, if you are ready to do it to that level and you have the confidence to it, yes, you should do it with a DSO or a private clinic. There's no limitation, and maybe you can make more money with that. Uh, but for me, it's little overwhelming. I'm a slow learner. Like I consider myself a tortoise. I like to go at slow and steady pace. And I was when I was practicing, I was my own boss. I had my own clinic. I was never worried about my production goals or anything. I always used to do things that's the best for the patients. And sometimes when you're working with the BSO or the private office, you might not have the full autonomy. So I never had to set targets for me that how much I'm going to make in my clinic this month or next week or anything like that. I always decided what's best for my patients, what's best for them. And even if it might be a simple extraction that I can do it, but I don't want to do it. I want to refer the patient. If someone the other reason it might be a simple RCT and might be referring it out. Or it might be a simple implant. I refer to my implant center. I don't want to do that patient was someone the other reason. So I always decided, just have the complete autonomy with me. And if you are somebody slow and steady like me who likes to experience everything step by step, get a hack of how dentistry works here in the United States, want a little peace of mind, want some more stability for themselves and their family, and not overburden themselves with production goals and targets. I think a federally qualified health center is your way to go, and it gives you the cap exempt as well. So it's a win-win situation. So I feel it's not the pay disparity, it's the scope of practice disparity that we should be discussing. And if you have the right mentality to excel, you can excel anywhere.
So while you were giving the answer, I thought of another question is that if at all someone wants to switch from an H1B cap exempt visa to an H1B lottery visa now. So like what do you have any information regarding that
You have to
if
go through the lottery.
so then you will apply for the lottery while being in your current job, while you will be on the H1B cap exempt visa. You can find an employer who's ready to sponsor your visa and apply for the H1B lottery.
Who can put you into the lottery, and if you win the lottery, then you can start working with them. I don't know what the contract of termination is your with the cap exempt organization that you are working, and what are the terms of contracts of working on the newer employer that takes you on the lottery. But you have to switch your visas from cap exempt to the lottery.
So, Dr. Anand, how did you navigate through the loans process on a B1, B2 visa?
Yes. To be very honest, I do have loans on my head. Um, So yeah, the international dental programs are definitely very expensive, and so there are a couple of things that you need to look into whenever you are deciding about the finances for the schooling, and everybody should really think about it before they really start jumping into it. So I took just tuition for my first year and my tuition plus living expenses for my second year, which together amounts to close to around 300K for combined 2 years, with around 6% of interest. So I did take student loan from private banks here in US. I got it from Discover, but currently Discover is no longer doing student loans. You can take from other banks like Herman, Sallie Mae, Citizens, etc. And there are banks like Empower and Prodigy that do let you loan without a co-signer, but the interest rates are very high. With banks like Earnest, Sallie Mae, Citizens, you need a co-signer, right? And usually these banks which help you to get loan without co-signers are usually around 11% or above that. You can also get it from your home country where interest rates vary from around 8% to 11% as well, depending on the bank. But they do ask you to put some collateral. But that's an option as well. And the third option is you can always borrow money from a friend or a relative or someone in US, and you can pay interest to them directly when you start earning. But to be honest, you either need funds from your end or you need to have contact, and one must just have an idea, how they are going to manage the funds for the schooling. So it doesn't come as a surprise when you do get accepted. And you do have to consider the expenses for the living also, because
Right.
usually wherever the dental schools are located, um, the rents of the apartments are usually like $1,500 to $2,500, depending on what sort of housing you live in and whether you have a family or not. So you have a lot of things, a lot of expenses that you need to consider when you are actually, like getting into dental school.
Okay. And are there any ways to look for co-signers if at all someone doesn't have family or
No, there are no ways. Okay. You have to develop your contacts, and you have to have somebody over here who can help you to sign. And I have seen co-signers backing out at last moment. So luckily, I have my sister and my uncles who have co-signed for me. So usually, if you have your relatives, they are your best bet to really, that will help you to co-sign your loans.
does your interest rate depend on your co-signer's credit history, or is that, I mean, how much truth is there in that?
Yes, there is a lot of truth. It definitely depends on the credit history of your co-signers, and also the loans that they are having. If they are having a very high amount of loans on them, then definitely the interest is going to be high. Depends on how much they earn, what's their income, It depends what's their credit history, how good they were with their loans and everything. Everything matters because they have to enter the social security number, and once they put up their social security number, they have your everything. The bank will have everything, and that's how they will be using the.
So yeah, so another question I would want to ask you is that can you like shed some light on the interview process for USC, because it follows a very different interview process, which is problem based learning.
So USC interview process of bench has a bench test and a problem-based learning interview with a case-based scenario approach where candidates sit in a group and discuss a particular case and they judge you on the basis of the answers and your participation as a team member. I think the process is very fair and apt and tests the candidate's overall personality, as the entire curriculum is based on problem-based learning scenarios. So I guess the the admission process is little different, but it is no different than any interview because basically they judge you on how good you are in your academics. At the same time, they also judge you how good you are as a person. How 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 much you respect your team members, how much you give them the opportunity to participate in a team-based approach. So I think it's quite a win-win for the participant as well as for the school, because that's how they want to take the candidate.
Okay. Can you tell a little bit about how PBL works?
We'll give you some medical case. Usually not a dental case or anything. It's usually a health-based case, and they will ask you how you're going to navigate the case, and how you're going to solve the patient's problem or come to a diagnosis. And you all will be sitting in a group of 10 or around 10 members, depending on the candidates that they decide. And after that, they will just give you the case, and you all have to start discussing the case and come to a conclusion of the case. Once you get the case, you will know if there is nothing. It's not a rocket science case, but you have to just ask yourself like, oh, okay, what's happening with the patient? What are the reasons for this? How what can be the possible diagnosis for the case?
So another question I want to ask you is how has your experience been adjusting to your DDS journey, and did you think that your experience as a periodontist came in handy during your DDS?
But I'm trying to say it as humbly as possible that I have more than like 150 CE courses. It's like under my belt in a span of almost like 20 years from 2003 when I entered dental school to 2020 till was practicing in India. I have done a lot of CE courses, lot of workshops and everything. And I was well versed with all the modern concepts of dentistry as my office used to be a practicing modern dentistry in India. So I'm a passionate dental learner as well. I need to, as I feel I need to know everything about dentistry. So the dental concept stays the same, whether you are international or in US. Sometimes it's overwhelming for many, but eventually all catch up. Sometimes it depends on the level of understanding of an individual, but as you now get into dental school, everybody copes up and everybody gets through it. So it's not like a big thing to really cope up with what the school, because school is basically a training environment. So they want to train you. So they do effort so that they train you get trained eventually. I had a little tough time in the beginning, not too much, because obviously I'm a periodontist with a surgical background. So but though I did some bench courses on everything prior to coming, I still had a little difficulty. As easy to see mistakes in a typodonts. But when I did enter the clinic, it was a wonderful experience. I really enjoyed my time in USC. I have knowledge the fact that it really trained me well. And to be honest, one's overall knowledge of dentistry has provided they practice good quality dentistry, or if they have not practiced good quality dentistry, or like, then that's why you are in the school for. That's what they will teach you there. So there is a difference between practicing good quality dentistry and practicing just dentistry. So if you have practiced first dentistry, then the concepts might be a little overwhelming. Okay, what they are really trying to tell you. But if you really know the modern concepts of dentistry, I think the concepts always stay the same. It's all how you approach it. So for me, it was a good learning experience. I still value all the courses that I did in university, and that really helped me to make myself a better dentist than that.
Okay. So, another thing I would want to know, that I do know that you applied into MS programs. So, I just want to know whether you felt that doing DDS over a MS course was the right decision for you.
I think specialty should be by passion and not just that you want to be a specialist. But there is a lot of psychological thing involving in becoming a specialist as well. However, if one wants to pursue it by all odds, they should be aware in which state they are going to practice. Okay, do your research on what specialty you are going into. Schools that take those specialties and offer the program and the requirements and subsequent licensure process. Because eventually you want to practice. What if you take a specialty which is not accepted in that particular state in which you want to practice? So there are so many things that goes into, not all states you can practice as a specialist, and rules definitely change with time. Also, the safest and the time tested is the BBS international program. You get freedom to practice, and move wherever you want. But as as I think, I didn't have great advice when I applied to pass. So when I was when I applied in 2022, there was a notion that you should not apply in Capit and passport. So asked myself why is that I cannot apply in Capit and passport? Like does it show that I am not decisive or what else? And I did apply in Capit and passport. I asked a few people and they told me that I have a very good profile. I should go for career residency. And just to be honest, I have a very decorated CV of almost 7 to 8 pages. And I started my journey by first applying in the past programs in career residency, so not in capital. I applied to 12 career residency programs starting May. And at the end of my application in July, I got a promo that what if I didn't get into the residency program? Then I applied to whatever schools that were open and applied in capital as well. And you know and I was coming from India on B1 B2, so I had hardly few options with me back then when I applied to Capital. There is like not many schools. There were like 5 6 schools that were open at that time in month of July, so I just applied them, and USC was one of them along with other schools. And most of the candidates fails to understand that visa is an important aspect of the application, and people who are international have big chances of getting in due to the changing, visa policies and issues. If you have wonderful profile, and if you look at my profile, people will say like you have one of the best CVs, but to be honest, CV has little to do anything with acceptance, and that's what I have learned with a period of time. Like if you have a decorated CV, doesn't mean you are guaranteed an acceptance. And there are other factors like, visa status, the country of origin, US experience, pressure, if you are pressure or experience. Experience as, as for me, sometimes can be lacking in this side. I'm thankful to US if you have pressure selected me from the basis of my experience. As I think that is my only strength, and I will be always indebted to them, In fact, most of the candidates in my class were highly qualified and experienced. Like they were all, if you are if you are seeing all of them at the same time, you cannot pick one because they all have a immense experience. So residency programs do have its own place. You should know what you want to get in, where you want to practice, what's the licensure, the limitations or licensure process for that specialty. And depending on that, you can definitely select the specialty. And even I think Paridhi did ask me, you also asked me this question, and my answer was spot on to you, right? And also like,
I did follow your advice. I didn't, I mean, I also did a lot of research around past programs. I spoke to people. I even spoke to specialist faculties in US dental schools. Everyone recommended me to apply into DDS. So I didn't end up applying for past programs, but I did do a lot of research around it and started with you. Your advice got me started into talking to people and understanding what extra I can do to, like have a better profile for past programs. But I ultimately understood that visa was going to be a limiting factor. And so that is why I didn't end up applying into past
and
programs.
also like we are competing with the core DDS, who apply to residency programs. We don't know about the system, so it's even tricky for the schools, to really select us or not. So it's a multifactorial thing. So So residency, as per me, you have the DDS and you want to do it more, if you want to learn more, you can always do it after DDS. But before DDS, you can take your chances and if it clicks for you, well and good. If it doesn't click for you, then you should get into the IDP program.
Obviously, visa is not in our hands. Visa is what it is and it cannot be changed. But apart from that, what are the strengths of the CV according to you?
So if you ask me if there's anything like change that I would have done in my application for the second time if I'm getting into program which I will never think of getting into. But then to tell you honestly, I will not do any change in the way I applied. But yes, now considering there are different scenarios happening and everything, I will do some changes in my application where I will start my education in United States, get an F1 visa. That will make my presence in the US. I think it is more. My answer is more for the people who are actually coming from international country, to start their dental education in US. So right now, so when I was applying, I gave myself 2 cycles. If it is done in that, it's done. If it doesn't work that way, then there are other things as well because I had my clinic, my family, and everything. So I cannot like just keep on doing that thing again and again. But one thing that would have changed is like I would have entered the US on an F1 visa, then navigated my way into the dental school. Many of my friends after graduation did that, and I've seen one of few of my friends who even did it after practicing in India for 3 years. That is another way that you can do it. Other thing, I feel that you should always get some US experience. Experience can be in form of the school, it can be in form of shadowing, it can be in form of community clinics, it can be in form of anything, dental assisting, dental hygienist, or whatever you can. You should try your hands on all those things because if you don't have an experience, then that's the only thing that you can show that how passionate you are in learning about dentistry. So try to get some experience, some sort of US-based experience, and I guess that is more important. In the PE courses, you can try to do it as much as you can because that you will help you. That will also add some substance to your CV as well. Getting some licensure, I think these are the things that probably schools are looking for when they are seeing candidates. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. As for me, the US experience I feel is top level. So your basic, you have the education, that is the dental education at the first level. Then you have your US experience. Then you have your CV courses and all those things to add up to your CV. Any hobbies or any extracurricular events that you have done might play or might not play in a dental school because it's a professional course. So they don't want how good a finger you are. They want to know how good you are in dentistry. So eventually, you are competing with so many good candidates. So obviously, it should be related with dentistry. Yeah.
You mentioned about F1 visa. So, do you have any recommendation as to what courses should international dentists look into to elevate their CV for a dental school?
So I feel any US education which is related with our dental field will always have a more importance. For example, if you are into biomedical sciences, take oral biology, something sort of an oral biology, something related with uh, craniofacial biology, or anything that is close to dentistry will always be better. Anything with research field, like say some master's program in research methodology or some master's program in healthcare administration. Probably that might also work to some extent. Uh, I don't have much experience because I never went into that part. So maybe somebody who has come on F1 and gone through schools and then got into dental school might be a good candidate for that perfect answer. But I have seen people in the research field, they really get into the dental school. Uh, so that is one thing that I think everybody should. And sometimes the school just wants you to have a year experience in schooling. Maybe if you are in some other specialty, might not be related with dentistry, but somehow it's like in the healthcare industry, it might. So that's why I'm telling like getting into an RDA, RDH or things like that will add more value to your profile because they are hardcore dental related. So there is nothing else that they are looking about that.
Thanks for sharing all your wisdom with us today. And yes, I mean, again, I'm giving a disclaimer that these opinions are subjective. Somebody else might have a different opinion, but I feel that Dr. Anand has always given me very genuine opinions. So I wanted to interview him and get his perspective across to everyone so that they understand that it is not only about optimism, but you have to think practically through things. Before applying, you have to do some research and know where you stand as an applicant. Thank you, Dr. Anand, for today's session, and good luck with your job. And I hope your family comes soon to be with you in the United States. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank